Hey guys, what is up? I hope you are having a fantastic day so far, and there is some big news for the upcoming Cartoon Network animated series Infinity Train. That being, the website and trailer for the series just launched yesterday. But they can't just show you the trailer, no, you gotta earn it. If you go to the official Infinity Train website, you'll be greeted with this. Upon clicking enter, you will wildly flail your cursor on the screen because even though it's 2019, cursors that have effects on them are still incredibly fun. After a bit, the infinity sign will appear on the screen, and then you will be taken to a piano keyboard with other various instruments floating around in space. To solve the puzzle, you click the keys D, B, G, and F sharp. And no, I did not figure this out on my own. I totally looked it up because I definitely do not know a thing about music. Now, it's unclear what these notes signify. It could possibly be hinting at the main musical theme for the show. After all, synths have been very prominent in the music we have heard for Infinity Train, but I guess we will just have to wait and see. After completing this puzzle, you will be rewarded with the trailer for Infinity Train. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into this trailer breakdown. We open with the image of train car windows rushing by with the voice of Tulip, the main character, saying, "This is how it happened." Immediately, this makes me think that some of this show could be told in flashback, and Tulip is recounting the events that led her to where she is now, most likely on the Infinity Train itself. But I am already thinking way far ahead. The next shot we get is of Tulip getting off of a bus with her friend Michaela, discussing how bored Michaela will be because Tulip will be at a game design camp. Which, by the way, sounds like such a fun camp to go to. And also, just a little thing that I noticed is that the school bus says North Middle Branch. Now, in my research, there is no school or town named North Middle Branch. However, there is a North Branch Middle School in North Branch, Michigan. Whether this was intentional or not, I do think that Tulip lives somewhere in the Midwest based on the environment. It seems like a more wooded area having pine trees as well as birch trees, and also it appears to be fall coming up on winter since none of the trees have leaves on them, how Tulip and Michaela are dressed, and the overall color palette of this scene. And the idea that Tulip lives somewhere in the Midwest seems to be even more plausible when we find out that Tulip's game design camp is being held in Oshkosh, which is a real town in Wisconsin. The very next scene we get is Tulip outside in the snow watching the Infinity Train go by. And also make note of how the train looks here because it will change later in the trailer. But in regards to the weather, this shows that Tulip does live somewhere where there are changing seasons. And if she does live in the Midwest, but Oshkosh is too far of a drive, and Tulip is too young to drive a car, then her next option would be a train, thus how Tulip eventually ends up on the Infinity Train. Now, something I want to bring attention to are Tulip's gloves and headband, because these appear a lot in this trailer, and I'll be pointing them out multiple times. But the train sets its destination to Oshkosh, which is 2 words instead of 1. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but it is something I noticed. Tulip boards the train but is immediately blasted by a yellowish green light. Cut to Tulip opening the doors to a car on the train. Make note of Tulip having both her gloves, and you can clearly see that there is a car behind her. So this door she just opened is probably not the first train car she encounters, but definitely one of the first ones. From here, we get a cut of the Infinity Train barreling down the tracks, and then Tulip is inside the car we just saw her open the doors to based on the grid against the wall and floor. Now, if you look in the bottom left, you can actually see 1-1 rolling around on the ground. When we go back to the image of Tulip opening the doors, 1-1 is not with her, but we do get a clip of her asking someone off screen, presumably 1-1, if he's a real robot. Take note that she's wearing her headband right here. So this means that Tulip meets 1-1 relatively soon after boarding the train based on her clothing. So between her boarding and the grid car, she has already met 1-1, and they are traveling together in search of a way to get Tulip home. And this definitely seems possible as there is a clip of 1-1 exclaiming a new adventure while in the grid room. Going back to the clip where Tulip asks if 1-1 is a real robot, she also asks if other people are on the train. Where we cut to Tulip running at a table during a birthday party for Dracula, I guess? As Tulip is making her way out of the car, we actually get a shot of the door before it opens, and this symbol is very important, as it is present on all the doors we see on this train. Additionally, it also appears on the logo for the show, which is a change from the original logo that was shown in the pilot episode. And oh yeah, we also get a joke of Tulip going through a train car just full of ducks. That's it, just ducks. But from here we get introduced to Atticus, who also appeared in the pilot episode. Atticus is the king of Corginia, but requests to accompany Tulip on her quest. The next shot we get is Tulip opening a set of doors to the next train car, and again we see this symbol. It is worth mentioning that this door did not open the same way as the other two did. I'm not sure if this is something incredibly important, but I did feel it was worth noting. We also see Atticus by Tulip's side, and Tulip only has one glove, meaning this scene happens sometime after Tulip first boards the train and discovers the number on her hand. But I'll get to that in a little bit. In the same shot, we do not see 1-1. Now, it's possible that 1-1 is in Tulip's bag and that's why he is not present. Or it's possible that he is just out of frame, seeing as Atticus is not fully visible. We get some quick cuts to some different train cars that we'll see throughout the series, a crystal room with crystal birds, an ocean, and what seems like a giant pinball machine based on the ball shooter lane. And yes, I did have to look up what this was called. Pinballs, and what appear to be bumpers in the back. I also think it's worth noting that when Tulip opens these doors, the walls are white and none of the train cars we just saw had white walls. The next scene we get is Tulip opening a set of doors with 1-1 on her shoulder but no Atticus. Additionally, she is wearing no gloves and her right hand is glowing green. The train car is revealed to have two creatures dancing inside, one being a creature that seems to be referencing a Tengu mask and the other wearing a hockey mask, most likely referencing the character Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th series. So with the masks and all the party balloons and streamers, I think it's pretty safe to say that this is the same train car that we saw Tulip running across the table. But it's at this point where we get the first reveal in the trailer at least that 1-1 is actually made up of two separate robots who each have their own personality, those being referred to as Sad One and Glad One by the production team, but as a unit they are called 1-1. Now this scene as well as several others are actually from the pilot episode, so it definitely seems that the pilot will get an episode or two in the series. Since the pilot was only 8 minutes long and I'm assuming that each episode will be 11 minutes as per usual on Cartoon Network, we'll most likely see an episode or two of a more developed pilot. To save time, I'm only going to briefly mention when scenes from the pilot appear. If you want a refresher, you can always look up the pilot on YouTube. In our next scene, we see Tulip with 1-1 on her shoulder and Atticus sliding down a slick surface, and Tulip has one glove on her hand. Based on the texture of this surface that they are sliding down and Tulip's one glove, I would say that this train car is the same one that we see Tulip opening right here. And since 1-1 is with her, it definitely seems that 1-1 either travels in Tulip's bag or was simply out of frame. We then get a shot of a giant keyboard floating in space, and this seems really familiar, but considering how fast she is booking it between the piano car, the Halloween birthday party car, and the duck car, I wouldn't be surprised if Tulip is just trying to make it through as many train cars as she can. Also, Atticus is not with Tulip and 1-1 in any of these rooms. In our next shot, we get Tulip and 1-1 in a train car covered in snow. She still has both her gloves on and her headband, so this is soon after she boards the train. We get a quick shot of Tulip running with 1-1 in her hands in an open field, and then we get a quick cut to the steward who appeared in the pilot. If you look in the back, you could see Atticus lying at the base of the hill, which mirrors this moment from the pilot. But it seems that this time around, there are these secret pipes and circuits that are hidden throughout the train car. And we also get the famous line from the pilot, "Return to your seat" again. Which begs the question, what does your seat mean? I mean, any train cars we see don't have seats. We get our next scene, which is back in the grid room with 1-1 and Tulip, where 1-1 is saying, "You're kind of in a bad place right now." We then get Tulip reaching down to pick up the glove for her right hand, and then we see the glowing green number. This time it's 115 instead of 53 that we saw in the pilot. We hear Tulip speaking, declaring she is going to get off this train, and we also have a shot of Tulip running with one glove on her hand and the headband on, meaning this happens after the grid room, since Tulip is most likely keeping the glove off because of the number. And if you look closely, you can actually see a door to the train in the far left, so we can already tell that these are the exteriors of the train cars. We see a quick cut of some sort of storm hitting the ground, and we also see Atticus warning Tulip not to rush in alone. To what we don't know, unfortunately, but it could be the steward, since this was also the enemy that they faced in the pilot episode. From here we get a scene from what will be the pilot episode in this series about banding together to defeat the monster who is troubling Corginia. We get some quick cuts of various train cars that Tulip encounters, one of them being the grid car that we are pretty familiar with at this point, and she only has one glove on, so this is post-number on hand discovery. And I do want to point out that in this shot here and here, Tulip is wearing the glove on her right hand, which is clearly the hand that has the number on it. So maybe she's trying to hide it. It's definitely strange to see the glove switch hands, but I highly doubt that this is an animation error. But back to the trailer. While we are cutting to different train cars, we have Atticus speaking, saying, "Across the great river and through the twisting woods of mystery, you shall find the unsolvable puzzle door." So this is probably setting up an end goal for Tulip reaching this door in an attempt to get home. This shot is on the exterior of the train, as we have seen several times in this trailer, and we can also see the bridge that connects to each train car. The most interesting thing here, though, is this cat in a metal sphere, and you can also see Tulip's backpack lying next to this cat, and we see this cat fire something into the air. Yeah, that's certainly something, all right. And then we cut to a ball pit train car, and then fighting the steward from the pilot, and then we also get Tulip saying they won't be stopping for anything, to which we get our mystery cat asking, "Tell me, kitten, do you want to get off this train?" Now, this character is brand new. They did not appear in the pilot episode, so I am already so excited that we have a new character who seems like they are going to be reoccurring. I'm kind of hoping that this won't actually be an ally per se for Tulip, but rather a character with their own motives, and they just need Tulip's assistance in order to achieve whatever it is they need to. But this is pretty much our last big piece of information from this trailer, since the rest consists of quick cuts between train windows rushing by. We got Tulip and Atticus looking down a tube, Tulip's number changing on her hand, and based on the background we see here, this seems to be on the outside of one of the train cars, probably the bridge. We got some following and some more shots of the train cars, but honestly this is probably my favorite shot because you can see how big these cars really are. Cause that's the bridge, and over here is where the door is, so yeah, pretty big. And if you look really close, you can actually see Tulip standing on the outside with the cat in its metal sphere. So this shot is actually from the same scene that we saw here. We also got the shadow monster that appeared in the pilot, and of course we get a shot from our favorite car, the grid car. And the trailer ends with the new logo for the show, which again, this symbol matches the one shown on the doors, and the words, "Coming soon." But Cartoon Network released the trailer on YouTube today, and it includes an alternate ending. In the ending to this trailer, we see Tulip, One-One, and Atticus waving to someone off screen, thanking them and saying they will never forget them. Cut to a bunch of dinosaurs playing baseball, waving back, and then the screen glitches to the end card. Not anything too crazy or important in terms of theories, but it was nice getting an additional scene. So with all of that out of the way, what are my thoughts on Infinity Train? I'm as hyped as ever. Since the pilot first came out on November 1st, 2016, I had been hoping for this to get its own series. Now, 2.5 years later, we get the first trailer and it did not disappoint. I definitely see this being a Gravity Falls type show considering all the mystery surrounding its premise, but in terms of my hopes for the show, I really want to see Atticus around for the long haul. He was such a great character in the pilot, and I want to see him travel alongside Tulip and One-One in their adventures. It's kind of hard to tell if that will be the case since it's difficult to piece a timeline just based on this trailer, although keeping track of Tulip's gloves is a good way to map things out, at least for 1, maybe 2 episodes. I am also really excited to see what crazy cars and puzzles we see throughout the show. Since magic is clearly at play here, there is really no limit to what each of the cars can hold inside. Overall, I cannot wait for this series to come out, whenever that is, since we don't have an air date yet, but hopefully we won't have to wait too long. This show has been greatly anticipated for a while, so I'm hoping Cartoon Network will air it sooner rather than later. But let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on the Infinity Train trailer? And what are you most looking forward to in the series? Let me know in the comments below because I would love to hear it, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and until next time guys, take care.